There is something you are carrying right now that you have been trying to put down for a long time. Not a memory exactly. Something heavier than a memory. The specific emotional weight of one person, what they did, what they didn't do, what they took from you or failed to give you that your body still holds the way stone holds cold. Long after the temperature outside has changed, long after every rational part of you has decided it is over, you have tried to forgive them, maybe many times. Maybe you have said the words out loud to a therapist, to a journal, to the ceiling at 3 in the morning. Maybe you have genuinely meant them in the moment. And then something happens. A song, a smell, a situation that carries the same emotional shape, and the weight is back, unchanged, as if you never put it down at all. And you think, what is wrong with me? Why can I not simply let this go? Nothing is wrong with you. That is not the right question. The right question is, what is the weight protecting? Because in the oldest understanding of how human souls work, and I mean the oldest, the frameworks that predate psychology by thousands of years and keep being rediscovered by it, unforgiveness, is never just stubbornness. It is never just ego. It is a signal, a very specific signal. And the moment you learn to read it, the weight does not disappear. It transforms into something you can finally use. Stay with me, because what we are about to uncover is not what you have been told forgiveness is. It is something harder and more useful than that. And by the time we reach the end of this, you will understand why the person you cannot forgive may be holding something that belongs to you, something your soul has been trying to retrieve for longer than this lifetime. Do not look away from that. It is exactly where the answer lies. Before we go further, I want to tell you what forgiveness actually is. Not the version you were taught, the real version, the one that actually works. Because if you have been trying to forgive someone and failing, the most likely reason is not that you are not trying hard enough. It is that you have been attempting something that was never what forgiveness actually requires. Most people understand forgiveness as a decision. You decide to release the resentment. You decide to stop holding the person responsible. You decide, often through enormous effort of will, to move forward as if the harm did not happen or no longer matters. This version of forgiveness fails almost every time. Not because the person attempting it is weak, because it is the wrong mechanism entirely. Real forgiveness, the kind that actually changes something in the body, and not just the mind, is not a decision. It is a completion. And completion requires understanding something that the decision-based model of forgiveness never addresses. What was the harm actually teaching you? Not what it did to you. What it was teaching you. There is a difference so significant that it changes everything about how you approach the weight you are carrying. Paramahansa Yogananda wrote about this with a precision that most spiritual teachers avoid because it is uncomfortable. He described what he called karmic bondage, the state of being energetically tied to another soul through unresolved interaction. And he was very clear about something that most people misunderstand. The bond is not created by what the other person did to you. The bond is created by what remains unlearned because of what they did. Read that again, because it is the thing that changes everything. You are not bound to this person because they hurt you. You are bound to this person because the hurt they caused is carrying a lesson your soul contracted to learn, and the lesson is not yet complete. The weight you feel when you think of them is not the residue of damage. It is the signal of incompletion, your soul's way of saying there is still something here. Do not file this away. It is not finished, and this is why willpower-based forgiveness fails. You cannot complete something by deciding to ignore it. You can only complete it by extracting what it was trying to give you. Here is the question that nobody asks about the person they cannot forgive. Not what did they do to me? Not why did they do it? But what did I discover about myself in the wreckage of what they did? What quality, what truth, what previously invisible part of my own interior became visible because of the specific pressure they applied? That discovery, when you can name it clearly, when it lives in your body, and not just your head, is the lesson. And the lesson is yours. It belongs to you completely. They cannot take it back. They do not even know they gave it. Now I want to tell you about a man named Daniel. Daniel grew up in Atlanta. Steady, careful, the kind of man who measured twice and cut once in everything: his work, his relationships, his words. He was not someone who gave trust easily. But when he did, he gave it completely. And he had learned, by his late 20s, that this was both his greatest quality and his most consistent vulnerability. At 31, he went into business with his closest friend, someone he had known for 14 years, someone who had been present at every major moment of his adult life, his first apartment, his mother's funeral, the night he met his wife, someone whose character he believed he understood completely. 3 years later, that person had dismantled the business, taken a significant amount of money that did not belong to him, and disappeared from Daniel's life without a conversation, without an explanation, without the one thing Daniel needed more than the money or the business or even the friendship, a reason. Daniel spent 11 years trying to forgive this person. He went to therapy. He read every book on forgiveness he could find. He had conversations with pastors, with counselors, with his wife, who loved him, and watched him carry this thing and did not know how to help him put it down. He understood, intellectually, that the resentment was hurting him more than the person who had caused it. He understood that forgiveness was for himself, not for the other person. He understood everything, and he could not do it. What Daniel found, in the 7th year of carrying this in a conversation he describes as the most uncomfortable he has ever had, with a therapist who asked him a question nobody had asked before, that is what changed everything. And the question was not about the other person at all. The therapist asked Daniel not why his former friend had betrayed him, but what had he known before the partnership that he had chosen to ignore. Daniel went very quiet, because there had been something. A moment, early in the business, when he had seen something that did not quite fit. A small thing, an inconsistency in how his partner had handled a minor financial matter. Something that, in anyone else, Daniel would have noted and addressed immediately. But this was his closest friend, so he had filed it under I, must be misreading this. And he had moved forward. The therapist said, "What does that tell you about yourself?" And Daniel, for the first time in 11 years, stopped looking at his former friend and started looking at the part of himself that had known and had chosen, out of love and loyalty and the specific blindness that deep friendship can create, not to look. The betrayal had not created this pattern in Daniel. It had revealed it. The pattern of overriding his own perception when the stakes felt too high, of trusting what he wanted to be true over what he could actually see. This was not new. He could trace it back to his father, to earlier friendships, to a recurring theme in his life that he had never named directly, because naming it would have required him to question a self-image he had built very carefully. He was someone who trusted completely. That was his identity, his pride. And the karmic lesson, the thing that the betrayal had been carrying the entire time, was that trust without perception is not a virtue. It is a vulnerability he had been mistaking for loyalty. The moment Daniel understood this, really understood it, in his body something shifted, not the anger, not immediately, but the grip of it, the specific quality of the grip. It loosened, not because his former friend deserved forgiveness, because Daniel finally had what the experience had been trying to give him all along. He had himself back, the part of himself that he had been overriding for decades. The contract had carried a lesson. The lesson was complete. And completion, not decision, not effort, not willpower completion, is what released the weight. Here is what this means for the person you cannot forgive. The weight you are carrying is not evidence of your weakness. It is evidence that the lesson embedded in that experience has not yet been fully extracted, and your soul, with a patience and a precision that your conscious mind does not share, will hold that weight until the extraction is complete. This is not punishment. This is the system working exactly as it was designed to work. Now let me give you the thing that Daniel found. D'actual mechanisme, the step-by-step internal process that moves forgiveness from a decision you keep failing to make into a completion that happens almost on its own once the conditions are right. Step 1. Stop trying to forgive them completely. Stop directing your attention toward the other person, toward whether they deserve forgiveness, toward whether you are capable of it, toward what it would mean if you gave it. All of that is the wrong direction. The weight is not about them. It was never about them. Step 2. Turn toward the wound itself, not the story of what happened, the wound underneath the story, the specific emotional experience, the feeling that lives in your body when you think of it. Give it room. Do not rush to understand it, or explain it, or resolve it. Just feel where it lives, what it weighs. what it has been asking you to look at. Step 3. Ask the wound a different question. Not, why did this happen to me? Not, when will I be free of this? But what have I learned about myself because of this that I could not have learned any other way? This question will not answer itself immediately. It may take days. It may arrive at 3 in the morning when you are not looking for it, but ask it and leave it open. The answer that comes, the real one, the one that lives below the story, that answer is the lesson. And the lesson is the key. Step 4. Receive what the wound was carrying. This is the step nobody talks about. Most forgiveness frameworks treat the wound as something to be released, thrown away, transcended, moved past. But the wound was carrying something that belongs to you. A piece of self-knowledge, a clarity about your own patterns, your own vulnerabilities, your own previously invisible interior landscape. Receive it. Name it. Let it become yours. Because once you have received what the wound was carrying, once the lesson has moved from the experience into you, the wound has nothing left to hold. The contract completes itself. The grip loosens. Not because you decided to let go, because there is no longer anything to hold. This is what Daniel found. Not forgiveness as an act of generosity towards someone who had harmed him. Forgiveness as the byproduct of finally receiving what the harm had always been carrying. Think of a messenger. An ancient one, the kind that traveled on foot between cities, carrying something sealed and important. The messenger does not know what is in the container. The messenger's only instruction is to deliver it, and the messenger cannot leave until the delivery is complete. The person who hurt you, they were a messenger. They did not know what they were carrying. They may have been thoughtless, or cruel, or careless in how they delivered it. But the container, the actual thing being delivered, that was not theirs. It was addressed to you. Unforgiveness is what happens when the messenger is still standing at your door and you are so angry at how they arrived that you refuse to take the package. The messenger cannot leave until the delivery is complete. The moment you take what was addressed to you, the moment you open the container and receive what was inside, the messenger's job is done. They can go. Not because you forgave their method of delivery, because the transaction is finally complete. Your unforgiveness has been keeping the messenger at your door. And inside the package, the one you have been too hurt to open, is something that has always belonged to you. Tonight, before you sleep, one thing. Bring to mind the person you cannot forgive, not their face. The feeling, the specific texture of what they left in you. And instead of trying to release it, ask it, what have you been trying to give me? Sit with that. The answer that comes first will probably be about them. Let it pass. Wait for the one that is about you. It will feel different when it arrives. Quieter. More uncomfortable. More true. That is the package. Open it. The moment you do, the grip will begin, finally, to loosen. Not because they deserve it, because you do. And one more thing. The person you cannot forgive, if the karmic framework holds, is almost certainly not someone you met for the first time in this life. The depth of the wound, the precision of what they pressed, the specific way they found every undefended place that does not happen in a single lifetime. Why the people who hurt us most are almost always the souls we have known the longest. And what it means when the same soul keeps finding you across relationships, across years, across lifetimes, until the contract between you is finally, completely closed. That is where we go next.